I've got a message for the UN about Sharia law. Entire societies are collapsing. We are losing our civilization. How dare you? How dare you? That would be something that people cared about more than climate change. Climate change is something people have been forced to care about because we know that it's a fake. We know that we're in a grand solar minimum in terms of sunspots on the Earth, which means greatly reduced weather on just temperature, greatly reduced temperature on Earth. That is why the Antarctic has been building up in intensity and ice every year for the last 10 years at a greater rate than the Arctic has been supposedly losing it. You never see a picture of the propaganda with a picture of a polar bear on an ice floe. Polar bears can swim, they've got paddled feet, they are adept in the water, they're not stranded on the ice floe. That is propaganda. And all the stuff that Greta Thunberg is talking about when she says, oh yeah, but the science is settled, oh believe the science. What science are we talking about? That CO2 causes heat? No. CO2 is produced from heat, not heat produced from CO2. It's the other way around. It's a byproduct of it. It can't produce itself. And if we're just looking at CO2, termites in the world produce 10 times more CO2 than man. Termites produce 10 times as much, so where's the war on termites? And if we're breaking it down into individual countries, well, the human-caused CO2 on the planet in relation to Europe, in relation to the UK, is minuscule. It's nothing. CO2 in the atmosphere makes up, the makeup of the atmosphere is 0.04% CO2. 0.04! Oh, but Greta Thunberg says that the CO2 is killing us all and we need to pay money to Al Gore and the climate tax lobby. How dare we don't do that? She's Soros' little misshapen-faced lackey. She's actually a psyop inflicted on every one of our children. Because they're the ones that are going to be brainwashed in schools. They're the ones that don't have to go to schools because of the climate emergency. What about 5G? 5G is going to be 160 feet towers that are going to be cooking the atmosphere. Does that contribute to global warming at all? Does heating up the atmosphere contribute to global warming? No, not according to St. Greta. I'm going to stand here making a face at Donald Trump. That's how you know I'm telling the truth. Because emotions wash easier with the plebs and normies than facts. People are tired of facts, and in a post-truth world they can't believe what facts are what. So they're obviously going to respond to a child screaming her head off and crying. That's more influential than someone speaking plainly about facts. It's a psyop, and you're all falling for it. And conservatives keep saying, oh, she's being abused. Oh, isn't it terrible what they're doing to Greta Thunberg? Why don't you start worrying about what Greta Thunberg is doing to your children? Why don't you start worrying about what Greta Thunberg is doing to democracy itself? Replacing it with mob rule, because we're going to have Extinction Rebellion, Black Lives Matter in the streets, and Antifa. Yeah, why is she wearing an Antifa shirt? Funny, isn't it? She's not actually interested in climate change. She's not actually interested in inequality or anything she talks about. She's only interested in this global tax and getting everyone to pay to a global government. It's always been communism, posing as environmentalism. But it's not environmentalism. They don't care about pollution. They don't care about mercury pollution in the rivers. They don't care about pharmaceutical, contamination of waterways, etc. They don't care about fracking and the poison that will inflict on the supposed climate. They don't care about 5G, literally cooking the atmosphere and causing the globe to warm up. Literally causing what they call global warming. No, they don't care about that. Well, what should we do? We should use less toilet roll when we're wiping our arse. We should put corks up cows' arses so they don't fart. Because they're the biggest causes of climate change, not the big corporations. No, not China. Not the big corporations with all the billowing smoke fumes in the air like Mount St. Helens. No, it's all us. Everyday people that are the cause of climate change and global warming. All the CO2 that we're breathing out. Apart from the termites, of course, because there's 10 times as much there. The grand solar minimum that we're going through right now is like the little ice age that we went through, where there was a grand solar minimum, and the sunspots on the Earth, the sunspots on the sun, funnily enough, because they're called sunspots, start diminishing, and there's fewer of them. And as a result, the impact on the weather on Earth is significant, because the sun affects the climate. I know it's a conspiracy theory to the UN. The sun affects the climate. My God, I thought it was just people breathing out that affected the climate. We don't go to foreign countries to bathe in the sun, we bathe in people's breath. We want to go to somewhere with sunnier climes. We go somewhere where people are breathing more. I want Trump to announce a referendum on the UN membership and throw them out of America. because the UN are now trying to usurp America, subvert it. They're actually openly getting rid of the Constitution. They're the ones that are mainlining mass migration around the world through the Migrant Pact. We need to all leave the UN. The UN is globalism writ large. That's all it is. They're the ones pushing Agenda 21, Codex Alimentarius, all the stuff that's the so-called sustainable development, the sustainable development of industry, and the complete oppression of mankind and subjugation of everything, and common law, freedom, decency, safety, everything. It just goes out the window because of this mass migration streamlining agenda. And it doesn't register to anyone talking at the UN, talking at this climate change rally, because, well, there's no problem with Islam, there's no problem with GMOs, there's no problem with fluoride, there's no problem with vaccines, there's no problem with 5G, there's no problem with fracking! It's just the climate. Racist.